Designer for Hoop Culture. I'm kicking it right now with 1080 The Game Sports Talk. Make sure you check out the Hoop Culture flagship store located in Fashion Square Mall, right below the movie theater, for your chance to win free Magic tickets and come kick it with the team. Also, make sure you follow us on IG and Twitter at Hoop Culture and download our free app available for Androids and iPhones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Official Master Airlines Flight 98.
Yo. We are back for Full Court Press Radio, sponsored by SOFOELC on Sports Talk Today, the team. I'm your host, Dane Thompson. Check with me tonight. The number 407-482-3776 to check in with me and Paul tonight, as well as check in with us on TuneIn FM on the app at www.sportstalkflorida.com, or if you want to catch us on the live stream, go to livestream.com, and in the search engine, after you register for free, you type in the words Tuck and O'Neill, and you get the chance to see me and Paul up until 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, even if you missed the live show tonight. Guys, Allen Iverson came out with a statement today, and he said the 1996 draft class could beat any single draft class in the history of the NBA, which includes the 84 draft class and the 2003 draft class. Mark, you're from Philly. This is your boy. Do we have to hit him with the "come on, son"?
You know what? I'm a surprise, y'all. He actually makes a point.
Ooh.
You know, and a pretty good one. If you look at the 96 class, the 84 class, and the 03 class. The 96 class might be the deepest draft class ever, right? So if you're talking about maybe 12 players, right, then maybe, you know, but I still think the 84 class wins. But I'm like, you know, it's not like they would get slaughtered here. It would be a close game if you could, you know, kind of turn back the hands of the clock and see what was going on. 84 is the best. They have two guys in the top 10 of all time. So they're the best.
Borderline three.
You got Jordan, you got Hakeem Olajuwon, and Barkley, and
John Stockton, dude.
You know,
yeah, I mean,
they're not far off. That either, so.
Man, listen, John Stockton doesn't get enough love from me. And it's he is the leader in 2 out of 5, right? That's 40%. I'm not a mathematician, but that's 40%. Of the major statistical categories, he is the leader in assists and steals. So, excuse me, but no. I'm sorry, Iverson. No, sir. You got Stockton, Barkley, Stockton, Barkley, Jordan, Olajuwon. You can throw Alvin Robertson in, who was a good player. You can throw Kevin Willis in, who was a good player. Otis Thorpe was a good player. I mean, heck, you could throw Sam Bowie in there. I don't care. Listen, you're not beating that class.
I don't know. Allen makes a good point, but I don't think 96 beats 2003.
That's another one.
2003, we're talking LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh.
Chris Kaman, Josh Howard.
And Josh Howard, before Josh Howard's knees went out.
David West.
David West.
It's a pretty. I'm not going to say Kyle Korver, although he was an all-star.
Korver's a shooter.
I mean,
you got to nowadays in the NBA, you got to have somebody who can knock down the shot. And there's very few guys in the league, in the history of the league, that's about as accurate as Kyle Korver is.
Now let's run off the all-stars from '96. You got obviously you have Kobe, Iverson, you have Marbury, Nash, Jermaine O'Neal, Peja Stojakovic, Antoine Walker, Sharif Abdul-Rahim. I don't know if I said Ray Allen or not, and Big Z, Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
I give them depth.
I think they beat 2003. Sharif Abdul-Rahim was
underrated.
Very underrated. He was a baller.
Now, he was a good ball player. Now, I'll give you the depth of that class. That class from top to bottom is deeper than any of the other two classes that we mentioned, or you can even go back to a few previous years. But you look at the star quality.
Oh, 84 is where it's at.
The question for 84 against 2003 is, what player on 84 guards LeBron James? You can't put Charles Barkley on him because he's not.
Jordan would have to guard him.
Then who gets Carmelo?
That would be Barkley.
Who gets Wade? Who gets Bosh? You go put Alvin Robertson on Wade. You go put Stockton on Wade. Wade's bigger.
No, you'd have to put Alvin Robertson on him. I think that's tough. There would definitely be a mismatch.
I mean, even with the 96 class, Mark. You know, how about this? If you're looking at 96 to 84, who guards Iverson, Nash, and Kobe? Who picks up those three guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really not sure. Only thing I know is Barkley and Olajuwon inside. That might be 50 points apiece.
Man,
either class.
Olajuwon is so underrated too, and that's funny because he's regarded, pretty highly, but he's underrated. If you look at his stats, he's underrated. Hakeem Olajuwon is easily a top 5 center ever.
Oof.
Yes, sir. I said it.
That's a hard. You look at the history of the centers in the game.
Man,
the Lakers have 3.
I listen. I love Shaq.
The Lakers have 3.
I love Shaq. Hakeem had a better career.
Ooh,
I'm sorry.
I'm taking the Diesel on that one.
I love Shaq, and Shaq had a great career. It's not by a mile.
I'm taking Diesel.
It's not by a mile. I'm taking Hakeem very narrowly.
Mark, who you got, Diesel or you got Olajuwon?
Sorry to say, I got Olajuwon. I think he's
man.
The footwork is amazing.
I think he's the best low post player ever.
Is it because of footwork?
Kareem is close. That skyhook.
In terms of skills and how to score the ball, this guy's the best to ever live.
I agree.
I think every big man it should be mandatory that you go see him and go train with him.
Didn't work for Dwight Howard.
I don't understand why teams don't make it mandatory.
He didn't put in the work.
Ask Dwight Howard why
if I was any one of these, especially any of these losing teams that we've been talking about tonight, teams that aren't getting in the playoffs, all your big men should be with Hawk right now.
I'm telling you.
We ain't going to go to the playoffs anyway.
How good will Joel Embiid be if he trains nonstop with Hakeem Olajuwon?
Oof.
Joel Embiid will be a beast if he trains with him. I'm telling. Even LeBron last summer, I think it was last summer or the summer before, he had a video of a private session with Hakeem.
Mm-hmm.
Man, some of the stuff that Hakeem was showing him, very impressive. And Hakeem still has the moves, man.
Hakeem can still give 12, 13 points a game right
now. He could. I'm telling you, man.
Especially against these guys centers nowadays.
Another thing that was that goes missing with Olajuwon, he was a good shot blocker. Really good rebounder. He was a good defender. I mean,
plays passing lanes.
Yeah, a good passer for a big man.
No, I'm talking about stealing.
No, I mean, but he was a good passer as well.
I think he was up there in steals every year.
Olajuwon did everything, man. That's why I said it. Underrated. For me, he's easily top 5, and that says a lot because the center is probably the most highly regarded position in NBA history. I think. I mean, you're even talking about guys like Walton, and I mean, they aren't even really mentioned. That position is probably one of the most prominent. I have him in top 5. So, for me, I think if you're going starting 5 or starting 5 with these 3 draft classes, it's got to go to 84. Now, when you start bringing in depth, 96 has the depth. But I'd say starting 5. I'm sorry, Iverson. I'm putting you 3rd. I don't know that you guys could beat 2003 5-on-5.
I think the 2003's 96 lack of size would
hurt them. Yeah,
I think the lack of size because 96 would have to go against.
They'd have to. Well, they could start Jermaine O'Neal,
but Jermaine O'Neal
gets cooked by Olajuwon,
and then who's guarding Barkley? And then don't
Sharif
forget
Abdul-Rahim.
And then don't forget you still have Kevin Willis, who was a very solid big man at one point.
So was Otis Thorpe.
Thorpe, Michael. I think Michael Cage was in that class too, and Cage was.
He was a junkyard dog kind of guy.
But the thing is, what player in the '96 class is going to keep Michael Cage off the boards? Not scoring. Michael Cage was like Michael Cage was like an Andre Drummond type of rebounder back in the '80s.
You got Antoine Walker now in his prime though.
Was he going to shimmy?
Well, I mean, I would say he'll give them work on offense. Now, defense, I mean, it's going to be a problem.
On the perimeter, the perimeter is going to be the problem for 84 against especially 96 because Nash, Allen, Iverson, Kobe.
Yeah, Ray Allen. Yeah. You got Ray Allen, Kobe Bryant, and Iverson just dropping bombs. Steve Nash. I mean, I don't know who you don't start out of them. I mean, if you're talking about a traditional lineup, you got to start Nash and Iverson and Kobe. I think
you got to put Kobe at the 3, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you would have to do.
You got Marbury coming.
To be honest with you, I think Barkley and Olajuwon would kill in the paint.
I agree.
And it would be a whole bunch of guys fouling out.
Now, it also depends on what kind of rules we're having, too. If we're playing a game in the 80s, or we're playing a game now where the touch fouls are a little bit different.
Man, could you imagine, remember the game that we just seen with Golden State and Oklahoma City?
Oh, yeah.
Where it was a tight whistle?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Barkley and Olajuwon had
Jordan.
the favor of a tight whistle?
I mean, we're not even talking about the greatest player.
In the first quarter.
I mean, we're not even talking about the greatest player of all time here. I mean,
crazy.
So, and I also think chemistry-wise, I got to give the edge to 84 because it's probably the most well-built starting 5.
More team-oriented.
Yeah, you got Stockton at point guard. He does not care if he shoots a shot, but he can knock it down. So you can't leave him open. And
Nash is the same way.
Nash is the same way. So I think that's those two are probably the perfect. That'd be a fun matchup to watch. I would love to watch both of them in their prime going at it.
Because I think the 03 point guard would probably be Kirk Heinrich or TJ Ford. I think it would be. I think Heinrich and Ford were part of that class. Mark, am I correct on that one?
You got Mo Williams. He's technically an all-star.
Yeah, but those guys aren't really pure point guards.
No.
TJ, I think.
Yeah, you got TJ Ford and Kirk Heinrich.
And Ford was a pure point guard.
I would take TJ Ford probably as their starting point guard. Yeah.
Well, here, guys, let's go back to what we were doing earlier. We were talking about guys. Who would you rather have? In this situation, because let's look at teams on the outside end of the playoffs. Like I said, who would you rather have in this situation? Who's going to make the playoffs?
Right.
In the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, when you look at those 6, 7, and 8 spots, especially in the East, there are about 5 teams, and I'm going to include Orlando in this list because Orlando's like 3.5, 4 games out of the final playoff spot.
So, are you asking who would we rather have? Who would we like to see in the playoffs? Is that what you mean? Or
where I'm going with this is that who has the better chance of making the playoffs?
Okay, all right. So who are we taking?
Yeah, who are you taking? Right now, if you look at the final spot in the Eastern Conference, for example, you have Detroit and I think Indiana, are tied for the final playoff spot in the East. Right behind, you said Orlando's like 3 games out of it. There's also a few other teams. Charlotte, I think, is 7th. Out of those teams, guys, which one has a better situation to get in the playoffs? If you're taking 2, do you take the 2 that are in the playoffs right now, or do you take somebody on the outside looking in? Here are the teams in order. I'll go again. You have, like I said, Charlotte, Chicago, and Indiana, pretty much all deadlocked. You have Detroit, Washington, and Orlando all fighting for that spot. Mark, I'm going to go with you. Will you keep the 3 teams of Charlotte, Chicago, and Indiana in those final 3 spots, or do you think Detroit, Washington, or Orlando takes one of those spots from the team?
I think only Detroit, the team, that's hanging on, probably has a chance just because of toughness. I think the Wizards are too injured. Orlando, they're up and down. You don't know what they're going to do. I think they're the only team, that will unseat somebody. I think the team that they'll probably take out is the Bulls. I like the Bulls, but, they're battling injuries. They're battling a lot of other things. I just think Detroit will get in there, and I would like to see them in there because they could challenge one of those top teams and be very physical with them and then make it a tough series.
Paul, what do you got?
Man, it's tough. I agree with you. I think Atlanta's the cutoff. So if you're looking at Charlotte, Chicago, Indiana, I'm with Mark. I think Detroit squeezes in. I really like the way Indiana's been playing. I think Chicago gets Jimmy Butler back, and I'm sorry, man. I think your Hornets fall out, which I think is a better situation for them, honestly.
Before we go to break, my thought on this one is that I don't think Detroit makes the playoffs. I think that it's an illusion. Tobias Harris is okay. For some reason, something tells me that Detroit
They've won 4 in a row.
They won 4 in a row. I think they've already peaked. I don't think they're going to get any better than what it is. I know Piston fans, and Detroit made a lot of moves. I think if they would have had a healthy Monty Eunice and Marcus Thornton, if that trade would have worked, I would have agreed. But right now, with those 2 guys not, on that roster, something tells me, and Stanley Johnson's been kind of hurt up and down with the injuries, but something tells me Detroit is going to fall off kind of the same way they did last year. I think the Washington Wizards get in the playoffs, though. I think the Wizards finally find the streak of health.
Well, they have won 3 in a row. John Wall, he's been impressive. I got on him pretty hard
last week.
Yeah, but I got on him for what he's saying, and he's been out of the spotlight. He hasn't been talking. He's been playing good ball. So I think he's capable of carrying them.
I hope he does. But I think Washington gets in. I like Chicago because they're getting Butler and Mirotic back. So it's like getting 2 players at the deadline of a trade. You get those 2 guys back, Chicago will be fine. I think they get 6. I think Indiana's the team that goes. I think Charlotte's chemistry over the last few weeks. Now, Charlotte in the last 10 games were 7-3 in the last 10 games.
Yeah, they've been playing well.
Playing very good basketball. And most importantly, they're 20-15 against the Eastern Conference. So they're beating teams in their own conference. Most importantly, Charlotte has somehow figured out a way not to get Al Jefferson back in that lineup to mess things up, have Al come off the bench because he's still not healthy. And the play of Nick Batum and Kemba Walker, and I like the way Courtney Lee is starting to acclimate himself into Charlotte. Cody Zeller is playing well. They're not letting Kaminsky do a lot of shots. And I love the way Steve Clifford's coaching his team. I don't trust Monte Ellis the second. Monte Ellis has been a stone-cold killer in the fourth quarter. Rodney Stuckey coming back is going to mess up the chemistry in the fourth quarter because they have to play Stuckey. I like Washington to overtake Indiana